Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is John. I'm a filmmaker slash creator and your host for Make Limited Podcast, where we talk about how to change our circumstances when life happens. In other words, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Today, we're talking about understanding in our three-part series of 3 words that will elevate your life. Welcome everyone to Make Limited Podcast with your host John. Today we're talking about understanding in our 3-part series of 3 words that will literally elevate your life. We have been talking about knowledge, we have been talking about wisdom. Today we're talking about understanding, and I am just so thankful of how you have responded to this podcast on knowledge, wisdom. You've asked the questions, you have been able to send us a message on all this information, feedback on what you think about understanding and knowledge, and I have been just overwhelmed with this response. And thank you so much for sending those messages, how it has helped you, how it's elevated your life, how you have used it in your own personal life. I'm just super excited, and it's just amazing how this is reaching not just where I am at, but all over the world. So be a part of it. It's amazing. Today we're talking about understanding. So I'm excited to talk about this. I can't wait to get into it. So with no further ado, let's go into this 3 words that will elevate your life. Today we're doing our last word, which is understanding. All right, so for point number 1, we're going to be talking about what is understanding. Okay, now in our knowledge and in our wisdom, we went over 3 points, which again, we're going to go into the same points here with understanding, which was what is understanding, the pros and cons of understanding, and why we need understanding. These are the 3 things that we're going to go over. We've also gone over 3 things in wisdom and knowledge. Now, if you want to hear more, you want to keep repeating those so you can just write notes down, keep it, and be able to apply it in your life. Make sure to go back and just revisit those podcasts so that you can get refreshed every single time, because every time you listen to our podcast, you learn something different. Maybe you missed something here because you were paying attention more to a certain section because you wanted that in your life at that moment. So when you go back to the podcast at that time that you've learned this one thing, you're able to learn something else. That's why it's amazing that we can go back to something, reread it or re-listen to it, and gain something else. This is the beauty of how our brain works, right? So right now, for point number 1, we're talking about what is understanding. And like always, I like giving you a meaning to the words because I want to stay in context of what we're talking about, right? Now, understanding, according to dictionary.com, means the ability to understand something, comprehension, right? Being able to fully, completely understand a subject, a topic, something that you work. One of the illustrations that I like to give, or one of the things that I like to bring, is a story of some sort that we came to the comprehension of understanding how to do something, right? In our last podcast, we talked about jobs, right? How we go into jobs, we learn, we gain the knowledge, we gain the wisdom that comes with the years of experience being there, and then we come into a point of understanding how things work. We just don't understand how our job works that we work in, but we come to the full completion of understanding how that whole business functions. And that is the beautiful thing about understanding. When you understand something completely, that's what understanding is. Now, I'm going to give you another definition that is understand. We're going to take away the ing and we're just going to go into the understand. Now, this definition by dictionary.com says perceive the intent meaning of a word, language, or a speaker. Okay, that is pretty much You yourself, the way that you view and you understand where the person, either where from a book, either you're listening to like myself right now, or a language, you understand, you perceive it, you're able to completely comprehend what it is. Of course, for myself here in America, one of the things for words or language was starting from pre-K to kindergarten, from a primary school to being able to go into the secondary school. But all of that had a process for me to learn the language, me to learn for myself, to learn the basics of the foundation of what our education was based on. And that had to come with experience, that had to come with practice, that had to come with repetition. All of that came until I was able to fully comprehend what the words, the language, and the speaker as teachers would be teaching, so that I could fully comprehend how to manage and speak in the area that I lived. So another definition is to interpret or view something in a particular way. And this is what I like to put with this definition is one thing that I learned from my history class in college. And so one of the things that I came to understand was that when I was in high school, right, I thought that the history books or any textbooks that were given to us, that was it. The whole United States, everyone in the world, that's the history that everyone knew. But when I got into college, I had a professor who changed this perspective, and I was able to perceive something and interpret something different that from the view that he showed the classroom. And pretty much he had a textbook from Mexico and a textbook from Texas. And those textbooks were very similar in the topic of what they were speaking of, right? The history. However, they saw or perceived or interpreted the history different. For Texas history, one of the generals from the Mexican army was seen as the enemy, as the villain. But however, in the textbook of the Mexico textbook, that general was seen as a hero, and the stories of it were very different in the way that they interpreted what happened in the war. And for me to see that and comprehend that, I was able to understand that not all textbooks are what they say they are. You really have to see both sides of the story to fully understand what is happening, or what happened, or how things happened in the story, right? And then lastly, our third definition is pretty much knowledgeably aware of a character or nature of. Okay, and this is pretty much in hand with what I talked about. You understand what was behind this textbooks, the characters that were in it. Why did the Texas or the United States textbook was looking at this general as a villain? Why? And why was the Mexican textbook looking at this general as a superhero? The character and the nature of it is to understand why this was happening, and you come into the comprehension of understanding if this general was truly evil or if this general was good. And this is what understanding is. When you put all these things, you perceive, you interpret, you're able to create a knowledgeable awareness of what a character or of nature is. This is what understanding comes to. A whole completion to understand the topic, the subject of something. And that is the beautiful part. And why I'm talking about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, because they come hand in hand. When you are able to understand that you need knowledge as much as you need wisdom, and wisdom needs understanding as much as understanding needs wisdom. And it happens in such a way, in a beautiful connection, that when you see it fully in perspective in your life, it's going to be such a elevation to your life that you're going to be able to interpret and perceive life very differently. Alright, guys, so for point number 2, we're talking about understanding. We talked about what it is. Today, for point number 2, we're talking about the pros and cons of understanding. And this is what I found interesting with pros and cons. The reason why I love talking about pros and cons is because I always think I believe that there is something good and something bad in anywhere you go in this world. If you are in this world, you're going to find that regardless wherever you go. You're going to find something good, something evil, or something good and something bad. It's going to be there. Doesn't matter what we try to do. And that's why I go into the pros and cons of what things can go into. And so the pros and cons of understanding is very, very interesting. And I believe that they are crucial to know, because you need to know what's right from left and what's left from right. Okay? And you need to know the difference of it. And that's what I'm going to do today in explaining to you the pros and cons of understanding and how can they be very, very helpful in your life. Okay? So let's go in with pros. Pros. Understanding. What are the pros of understanding? Well, here is number 1. One of the pros of understanding is that understanding completes, okay? It helps you completely understand a concept. Now, this is when you go into something. Let me explain to you. This is the very point of understanding, the middle point, the foundation of understanding. When you grab something, for example, let's say you grab a skill that you want to grow in, right? Let's say you want to grow in a skill of woodworking, one of my favorite things that I've done before. And when you come into the understanding of what woodworking is, your whole life perspective is changed. And you learn how to respect something. But it starts first with knowledge. You have to understand how woodwork works. What tools you need for what projects. What prices are going to be for the project that you're building. And then, do you need a blueprint? Do you need an outline? Do you need help? All those questions are asked. These are things that you learn. You become knowledgeable in that area. The more you get into it, the more you grow, the more you are able to look into what's really happening with woodworking. Now, let me tell you my story. Woodworking for me started when we moved into a new house. And there were several things that I wanted to or we wanted to update in the house. And we end up finding out that it is super, super expensive to do anything inside the house. But you have to really balance what's important. When you have a budget, is it important for you to be able to, pay somebody a certain amount so that you can fix that area? Excuse me, I'm going to just, my throat is itching. Excuse me. Okay, so you are in this area we were in this area where we were looking, and it became very expensive. So I know that I'm a person that loves to work with their hands, and I like to, anything that I go into, it's like hands first, and then I understand something. So I had to learn of the cost. I have to learn the tools. I have to learn the materials. And then I was able to understand excuse me. I was able to understand that woodworking was not just a skill or a hobby that you get into. It's actually a practice that you learn, and that it will benefit you your whole life if you understand what it is. And the more that I was getting into woodworking, I was noticing that my work was becoming better. I was becoming more experienced. I was learning about pricing. I was learning about how techniques on woodworking and how to build things. And the more that I got into it, I started understanding the craft of woodworking. Why you need certain tools. And you cannot just have any tool. There is a really big difference between a tool that you buy for $20 and a tool that you buy for $400. There's a huge difference. And understanding those things of how you can get better work by better tools only comes by experience. You have to really experience that tool that is $20, and you do all that you can to really make it work, and it does its best, and then it burns out, and then you realize that it only does so much. And you start understanding the full concept of why woodworking is a practice. And that's what it came for me, to understand that it wasn't just about the tools, it wasn't just about the wood, it was what you saw as the creator, what you pictured in your mind, and you literally made it come to life. Not literally come to life, but you you literally made it into something that was just an imagination, and you created it with your own hands. And that is the beautiful thing about woodworking. So the second thing that understanding gives you, than just the concept, the full concept of something, the complete concept, it also guides you through your life. It protects you through your life. And it is such a wonderful thing to have understanding of things. You know, there's one thing that I live by, one of the scriptures that I live by, and is people perish for the lack of understanding. For the lack of knowledge, for the lack of knowledge. And at first, I didn't understand what that meant. But then, as I started researching and understanding where this passage was coming from, I understood that when you don't know of how things are done and why it's needed in your life, you can become the word escapes my mouth, but you can become weak in that area, and it can affect your life. One of the areas that I see a lot is in health. There's a lot of things that people talk about that are good for you, that a lot are bad for you. Organic food, gluten-free, wheat-free, and you have so many products that are going on. But if you don't understand what's happening with these materials, why are people making them, and behind of these products, not just how people make it, but who makes it, who produces it, who's paying for this, you come to an understanding of why this product exists. And it exists only for the concept that people are asking for it. That is it. That is the understanding of why some of these products exist. Because as humans, we want certain things, because now we want a healthier life. Now we want certain things. And if it sounds good, and if it's a word that it's a positive connotation, then we're more than likely going to purchase that because of it's a healthy thing, right? If it's green, it's healthy. So they write green words on this product so that you can see it and be like, oh no, it's healthy. It's completely healthy. But when you go into it, and that's what we're talking about, knowledge. When you go into it and you start knowing what's really behind it, and you understand, it comes to alive of what it can do for you if you benefit from it, right? So again, it will guide you through life. This will lead you, it will protect you, it will be a roadmap for you. Understanding will do this for you. Number three, what will understanding do for you? It will take you further than you can imagine. Okay? It will take you a lot further once you understand anything, whether it be a subject, again, how you perceive it, how you interpret it. Okay? And this is all it giving you the ability to understand something, okay? To really comprehend what is going on in what you're doing. That's why when you go to university, when you go to 4 years of college, you get your master's, you get your doctor's degree, it narrows down that the area of study that you want to do. The more you learn about it, the more you research on the topic, the more you learn about it. And you come to full understanding why we need doctors, right? And a doctor finds out why, he wants to be in this area of, maybe he wants to be a surgical doctor, maybe he wants to be a pediatrician or a nutrition. And they all come to the concept of understanding how the body works in their area of field of study. So they come to a full knowledge of how things work. For me, it would be filming, knowing my camera, knowing how to use it. And the reason why it's so crucial to understand, in my perspective and in view of a camera, when you understand the concept of what a camera can do, it becomes a second-hand thing. And I can shoot better videos, I can do better things, and it can reach people that I can collaborate with. Like, for example, another company, I can collaborate with actors that will elevate my production and create that connection that will take my production further because of my understanding of a product, because of my understanding of directing, because of my understanding of how to write a script, because of my understanding of how a movie is narrated or a story is narrated. Those things will take me further of the fully understanding of it, and will make everybody else's life easier as well. But it will take us further than what we can imagine. That is the beautiful thing of understanding. Okay, now these are three things. There are a lot more pros to understanding, but there's three main concepts that I want you to really take to heart of what it can do for you, what understanding can do for you. Now let's talk a little bit about the cons. Okay, cons of understanding. Now, this is something that I believe we all need to know as a warning. Okay, and the reason why I say this is because I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it in other people's life when I ignore understanding. Okay, now this is number one for the cons. If understanding is ignored, once you know it, once you understand something, the consequences are deep if you ignore it. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, this is what I mean. When you neglect something that you know, right, when you understand it, the consequences of it, of being deep, is that because you know, and let's take, for example, eating nutrition food, right? You know that they're eating too much sugar, it's going to, be stored in your body. Not only that, but it's going to cause some effects that your body is going to react to. Okay, so let's say, for example, eating a lot of sugar, eating a lot of, let's not say bad food, but food that you shouldn't over intake. And we do it every single day. 3 meals a day. We probably eat about 10,000 calories alone on those meals. And that's for lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The consequences of knowing that if you don't eat healthy, it leads you to a place of being diabetic, having a heart attack, having some kind of disease, putting your body on pressure, having high blood pressure, and all of that leads and has a ripple of something that is going to have a consequences down the line that we're not going to like. Now, our body is really, really a working machine. It lives to survive, right? Or it survives to live, is what I'm trying to say. But if we ignore it, the consequences can be really deep. This is where my concept of, or my quote of saying, change before change changes you. It's very important for us to understand that if we ignore what we understand, there can be deep consequences with the ripple that comes from it. Okay, so that's con number one. Con number two, not acting on your understanding will lead one in the wrong path. Okay, and this is the same thing that comes to it. And I don't know if you've ever heard, bad character corrupts good character. And that goes in the same direction of saying that if you are in the wrong with the wrong people, you will start acting like them, be like them, and then it will lead you into the wrong direction. So when you don't pay attention to good, when you don't understand that good is good for you, then you come into a area of allowing yourself to be put in a place or with people that you may not want to be with, because they're going to lead you into the wrong path. So not acting on what you understand will lead you in the wrong path. Okay, and that's why understanding is super important for us to comprehend fully, because it comes with knowledge, it comes with wisdom. Those two things that will lead us, and understanding and having the full concept of all of them in one will literally give you the best path that you can go with, but ignoring it will lead you astray into the wrong path. Number three, the cons of understanding. Understanding gives light to truth, and not many can take it. Okay, and this is something that I actually experienced not too long ago. And to have a long story short, it's when you understand something of an action or a psychology of how the mind works, and it's something that I love to study, you come to the realization that people act a certain way or have certain characters or patterns, and you can read body movements, you can read body gestures, or face gestures that literally tell you an emotion or tell you if someone is giving you the truth or not. And this is what I enjoy about understanding within a topic, is that you start understanding and it gives you light to truth. Now, not many can take it, okay? When it comes to this, when you come to the understanding of something, people are not going to like it. Other people are not going to like it if you start calling them out on what they're doing that is creating lies, right? And this goes into the experience that I had not too long ago on getting a car dealership, right? I went to the car dealership to get a car, and we experienced a salesperson. But before I went to the salesperson, I literally did a complete research on the topic of salesmen, how they work, how the company works, and how it runs. Knowing those three things gives you enough information to know how it sells. So knowing this, I was able to really get a deal on the vehicle that I had, but also I was able to call out the lies that the salesmen were trying to give to fall in the trap that you believe it's a must. So again, there are rules and there are laws. Okay, rules can be broken, laws can't. As long as there is no law that you cannot ask questions on a sales deal, and you can know all the information that you can, people won't like that. Okay, that's why understanding gives light to truth, but not many people can take it well. And so that is the con of understanding. There's a positive notation in there. However, the negative is that people are not going to like it. Okay, so your reaction to that will dictate how the whole scenario goes. So those were or are the pros and cons of understanding. All right, guys. So we are on point number 3. Why we need understanding. Okay, why we need it. Why is it important in our lives? Now we've talked about having this 3, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, together, and how they're crucial being together. They work hand in hand. They work together. One without the other is literally like chaos, right? So why we need it? Why do we need understanding in our life? We need understanding for one. We have 3 points here, but number 1 is guidance. We need understanding for guidance. Okay, what comes with understanding? Of course, knowledge and wisdom. Okay, knowing something from a subject or a topic. Number 2, wisdom would be the experience that comes from it. Okay, the experience that comes from it, and then ultimately it will lead us and guide us to where we need to be and what direction you want to go, and your path, your goal, your vision, your dream, your life. It's gonna guide you to that direction that you want to go. That's why we need understanding, which is number 1, as I put it, because guidance is something that we need. We don't know everything in life. I myself don't know everything, but I've learned through the experience. I've learned through the process of practicing and training and researching and reviewing and all these things that I see through my life, and is being able to guide me so that I can fully meet my goal through the understanding of it. Number 2 is why we need understanding is it keeps us on our path. So not only does it guide us, but it keeps us on the area that we want to go, because it's very easy to go off track. It's very easy. One of the things that I've learned, especially one of the areas that I live by, and that's the Bible, is that it says when it goes into, many people go into the road, I'm paraphrasing here, that is wide. Okay, everybody goes there. Why? Because it's easy. Everyone is doing it, so it's very easy. But the narrow road, a lot of people don't take it. Think about it. Even in our own world, there's about 5% of people that are billionaires. The rest of that 5%, which a big majority of that percent, are people that are in the lower class. And then you have middle class. And then you have like upper middle class, right? And then you go into people who are rich. And so on and so forth. But 5%, they did something that few people will do. Now, of course, we don't know if it was all good. We don't know if it was bad. But we know that they did things that 5% of the people, or only 5% of the people would do. Now, again, I don't know, how, to what path you are going, but I hope that it's a good path. And this is what I encourage you with. Stick with understanding that has knowledge and wisdom in it. Why? Because it's going to keep you on the path that you want to go. It's going to keep you focused on what you want to do. And this is something that I wish that as I was a young kid, I wish that I would have known about understanding, because it would have kept me on the path that I wanted to be, that I am now. So, again, why do we need it? Because it guides us, and 2, it keeps us on the path that we need to be. Okay? For example, one of the things that I learned from Dr. Miles Monroe was that as a young boy, he understood purpose. And understanding purpose kept him from literally doing what every other kid would do, which was grow up, get married, and have kids. Of course, he did grow up and he did get married, but however, his purpose was very different. He focused on his schooling. He got A's on his schooling, and one of the best stories that I enjoy from one of the teachings from his own mother was that they all went to school, right? And well, not all, but the students went to school, and he was there with his classmates, and they took a test, and everyone got like a low grades, like in the 30s and 50s. Everyone in that class failed the test. So his mom was really pushing for him to get A's on his report. He came home and he was happy that he was not alone and that everyone failed. And he believed that his mom was still going to be proud of him because, it was tough, it was hard, and everyone, anyways, failed. But as he got home, he actually received the opposite of what he was expecting, which was his mother was not happy with the grade that he had. And one of the most powerful things that she could ever to tell him in his life was, just because everyone else got the same grade or failed does not mean that you can get the same grade and fail. Okay? And the purpose of this was that just because everyone is in that process doing it doesn't mean that you're going to go and put yourself in that area just because everyone else failed. And now you're just a group that failed and are together and are happy. But instead, be the person that moves forward to get that A, even though no one got it. And it's not an easy path. But when you stick to that path, you stick to those people that will keep you on track, when you stick to knowing and understanding your purpose in your life, as for him was to be able to take care of his parents, get an education, get a doctor's degree, being able to go to college and bringing back a successful life to help his people, that was his purpose. And he did. He did that. Why? Because he understood the power of purpose. And now, number 3 is why we need understanding is it's the path. It's a path to success. Okay, just as I was telling you the story of Dr. Miles Monroe, it's a path to success. It's the same thing that I'm telling you here. As Dr. Miles Monroe went on, understood the purpose of his life, and he was able to move forward and bring that back, and in turn, it actually rewarded those that were around him, that were close to him, that helped him. That's what understanding does. It keeps you on path that is successful. And you only become successful is by understanding. Okay? Understanding what you're doing, understanding your purpose, understanding and knowing that it's going to guide you, it's going to keep you on your path, and lastly, it's a path to success. That's why we need understanding. And in my own life, as an example, in my own life, I understood that there was a purpose that I needed to accomplish. But yet, that purpose wasn't fulfilled because I fully did not understand what that purpose was. And it came the hard way. It came the hard way through a heart attack that I understood what my purpose was. And it came through just a little understanding that I wanted to help people, but not just help people, because we can help people at any time, okay? But help people in the certain part of life that we all need, that I didn't have, and that is this Make Limited Podcast. How? By encouraging people to be inspired, to be motivated, to be better humans in this world, in this life. Because we all go through circumstances, we all go through things in our lives, and some of it is unexpected. And that's what we talk about here. Life is unexpected. Sometimes we don't know what's going to happen the next day, tomorrow. We have a plan, but we don't know how it's going to come to be the next day. Okay? Unexpected things happen. So what do? We talk about it here. We talk about our experience. We talk about what we've gone through life so that people can hear it out there. And when they go through it, they're able to have insight of what goes on at that time and are able to react in the best manner and way possible. And that's why understanding was such a big elevation in my life to keep on going. And I hope that it's the same for you. Alright, guys, so you have reached the end of today's podcast on the 3 words that will elevate your life. And we were talking about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. 3 words that will definitely elevate your life no matter in what area you're in. So use these 3 things, keep it close to you, and you will be able to elevate your life further. Now, just to end in a conclusion, I wanted to give you my own thoughts of what I believe that understanding is, and that is a simple message like this. Understanding is, in my own words, is being able to gather information, learn from it, apply it, and teach it. Let me say it again. Understanding, in my own words, is being able to gather information, learn from it, apply it, and teach it. So that's the end of our series. I'm super excited to be able to talk about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It was something that I've been wanting to talk about because I believe that this is something, it has been a positive connotation in my life. It has elevated my life to be at the maximum that I could even imagine where I could be right now. And it has taken me to a place, and I see the beautiful future just bright and big as I go into it every day, step by step. And it's been amazing. It's been a privilege to be in this life, and I can't wait for what other great things are coming up. So I'm telling you, these 3 words will elevate your life, will take you to the next level, to be inspired and to go inspire others, to motivate others, and to be better humans every step of the way. So I'm glad that you were a part of this series. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to talk to you next time. Okay, guys, we see you. Peace.